Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the second regular monthly meeting of the Mayor and Council being held in Borough Hall Tuesday, February 28th, 23, starting at 6:32 a.m. Missy, could you please read the roll?
Mayor Nunziato.
Here.
Councilman Coakley.
Here.
Councilman McGowan. Councilman Big Roberson. Councilman Guzman.
Here.
Councilman Delroy Cohn.
Here.
Councilwoman Quattrone.
Here.
Thank you. If you're willing and able, could you please stand for the salute to the flag? Thank you, everyone. Missy, could you please read the provisions?
In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Law, Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, notice of this meeting was transmitted to the Record and Herald News and filed with the Borough Clerk on December 21st, 2022, and February 15th, 2023, and is posted on the bulletin board outside of Borough Hall.
Thank you. Seeing we have no presentations tonight, we'll move to the changes to the proposed agenda. Missy?
I have none.
Anybody from the council? Seeing none, we're going to move to the hearing of citizens, but prior to doing that, seeing none, before we do the hearing of citizens, we will allow Councilman Coakley to speak, or do I wait? I would like Councilman Coakley to please step up to the front and present a ordinance that will be on for tonight.
That one.
You may want to stand in front of one of the boards.
Testing. Everyone hear me? Yeah? Am I okay online?
Could you please turn the board toward where we can have it seen? Kim, is that? Okay. All right. Yes, please.
Try something new. All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Councilman Coakley, obviously. We're trying something a little bit different in the interest of transparency and communicating better with the public. So, as you know, on the first read this evening is an ordinance designed to adopt or allow for Class 5 and 6 cannabis licenses within the borough of Rutherford. About a little over a year ago, we adopted an ordinance to allow for Class 1 through 4, as we had entertained that as a business proposition and the tax revenue available to us. We soon realized that we just do not have the real estate nor the capacity for any of those industries that warrant a Class 1 through 4 license. It's sheerly a square footage issue. All right, so Class 5 and 6, we took 2 years off from the advent of or legalization of it here in New Jersey to do our research, to see at some of the first early adopters how it went within their municipalities. And so what I'm presenting tonight is my findings and justification for bringing an ordinance of this nature before my council colleagues. So what you see here on the very first slide is a rendering of what a retail establishment looks like. It likens itself to a Starbucks or an Apple store. If you don't know or are not familiar with the state regulations, security is on the ownership itself and is very heavily regulated. So much so to the point where our D is checked at the entrance to the establishment. You cannot even walk in if you are not of legal age. Second, there is no product on the floor. You cannot walk in there and just put something in your pocket and walk out, right? You have to place your orders through all of the retail infrastructure, and then your order is brought out to you, and on your way you go. I would like to thank Councilwoman Delroy Cohn for actually doing her due diligence and heading out to one of those shops just to do the exploratory research to confirm exactly how it's regulated. So again, thank you very much for that. It was an incredible effort on her part. Again, this is what we've been doing for the last 2+ years to make sure that this is right for our borough. Slide 2 here shows you what we had designated as our cannabis zone. We did this a little over a year ago, class 1 through 4. It basically dictates that everything east of Route 17 is a viable option. Now, like I said earlier in the presentation, class 1 through 4 need a minimum of about 50,000 square feet. We just do not have that available right now. Even with the introduction and possible adoption of this class 5 and 6 ordinance, there is nothing in the real estate market currently available for a establishment to come in and open up shop. The closest possible proximity has 3 years left on their lease. Right? So again, this is literally just us saying we are okay with this, done our due diligence, looked at other municipalities, and I'm going to get to the why in just a few moments. But this is essentially real quick, sorry, Bob. Just so you all understand, what you're looking at here, all of those blue, purple, and green areas are what is restricted by the state. So the state regulates that you cannot have a dispensary within 600 feet of a park, a daycare center, a church, anything of that nature. So that you can see literally where there's a small little window kind of right there in the middle of Park Avenue, but that's about it, and we're not about to do that within what we call Rutherford proper. So this is where we start on the why. This is basic business, the general statistics that have been accumulated on the retail side over the last 10 years. Bear in mind, this is not new nationwide. This is brand new to New Jersey, a little less than 2 years old, but it's been in operation and legal for 10 years across various states nationwide. Sorry. So these statistics that I've put forth today are based on just 10% of Rutherford's population. That's 18,400 and change residents. National statistics say that 10% of your population will be retail consumers. Okay? So what you're looking at here with all the data and everything like that is on average a singular store who would host 10% of Rutherford's population. I want to put the emphasis on that. Where we live and how densely populated we are, you're looking at 4.8 million and change in revenue. And that's a very important number to understand. Why? Because what is the biggest complaint living in Rutherford other than parking? The size of taxes, right? We all pay an inordinate amount of taxes. We have incredible services because of those taxes. But I'm a graphic designer. I don't make a ton of money. I want to live here for 30 years, right? I want my children to be able to come back, right? I want to be able to own my home well into my 70s and 80s and so on, right? We need revenue streams. We are not a commercially viable municipality, right? Like East Rutherford and similar. Like I said, I touched briefly on the fact that around 2012 on the retail side. Cannabis on the medicinal side has been legal in California since 1996. So we have the statistics and the data to supplement and reinforce the logic behind it. One of the municipalities that we looked at over the last 2+ years was Rochelle Park. Rochelle Park has been one of the most profitable municipal tax retail establishments in the area. They currently collect just about $1 million in tax revenue annually. In addition, the corporation that established their retail establishment is paying for 2 police officers' salaries. It's an incredible, incredible contribution. We have a meeting currently set up in the future with the police chief from Rochelle Park, with our own John Russo, to find out how and why that was established. So this is not just a cut and dry, fast. Now we get into literal municipal benefits, right? And the reason I brought this up for the last 2 years. This is the baseline for what Rutherford could take in. The baseline on just 10% of our population is nearly $100,000, right? We're going through our budget negotiations right now, and we have some upticks in some of our areas that are astronomical. One of them being $600,000 for the right? $100,000 barely scratches the surface on that. But I'm asking for $42,000 for my fire department, right? Help me out with my fire department. Revenue streams are important. We have to think about this and look at it from a business perspective. We can no longer focus on the stereotype and stigma with regard to cannabis. It is legal. Municipal benefits. As a business grows, let's say we were lucky enough for a piece of property across east of 17 to become commercially available to an entity, right? Let's say they grow over the course of 3 to 5 years. They want to open a microfarm. They would have to apply for a Class 1 and 2 license. So in addition to the 2%, it was already curating almost $100,000 in revenue. Again, just on the Rutherford population alone, we would add another 4% for those 2 licenses revenue generation. So you're talking about 6% accumulated municipal tax and total revenue. Right? So those numbers are starting to get closer and closer to Rochelle Park's $1 million in municipal revenue. And then, of course, there's the license application fees to operate within our zip code. We were taking, quote, Ferraro, the borough attorney, was incredible in his level of detail with writing this license. We did a ton of research. I want to thank Councilman Guzman for his attention to detail. He referred back to Rochelle Park and many of the other municipalities that are starting to explore this. Hackensack is one where they list out a $15,000 fee to just open up the shop. Right? So again, this is all about revenue for our borough, to be able to take care of the people that take care of us, right? And keep our interest in the town at a level growth. Right? So we're going to get into the concerns. Obviously, as I had stated, we have 10 years of data and analytics behind us, right? Multiple states have gone retail since 2012, right? This one study, the effects of legalization in Colorado and Washington, and again, we're the first to establish retail in 2012. The consensus was, with current research, it is suggested that legalization of marijuana and subsequent opening of dispensaries have little to no adverse effects on crime rates. Again, these establishments are required to provide their own security. The majority of calls to these establishments for a local police department are fender benders within the parking lot, which is within their jurisdiction anyway. Right? If somebody's at a ShopRite and backs into another car, that kind of thing. Right? So again, combating the stereotype and stigma of this right now. Traffic. I alluded to parking earlier on. Again, the designated cannabis zone being east of Route 17. The majority of these properties have their own parking lots, and they're accessible off of Route 17. This will not affect the parking within Rutherford proper, which is our primary concern. Now, in my research, we came across multiple case studies, but this one in particular, out of Belmar, New Jersey, was fantastic. Now, that's Belmar. I don't know how to say it.
M-A-W-R.
What's that?
M-A-W-R.
M-A-W, yeah, not Belmar, Belmar. Okay, so Mayor Philipek, right, went against the total consensus. At the time, it was medicinal only. The company that brought in and had gotten their licenses and bought a warehouse in one of the most run-down areas within Belmar itself. It was so successful that they ended up buying another 6,500 square foot warehouse across the street, and now that district
Thank you, Councilman. I would also like to add to that, that it's my understanding that it's less than 1,000 yards from the East Rutherford border, and it's been brought to my attention that it's also being reviewed over there. So what's the difference between 1,000 yards, except us losing money? Now I'm going to open it up. Now I'm going to open it up for the hearing of citizens. Anyone from the borough wishing to speak, please step forward to the microphone, state your name and address, and please keep your comments of 5 minutes or less. Thank you.
My name is Lois DiTomaso. I live at 180 Mountain Way in Rutherford. I just wanted to thank you, the council, for passing the,
Yeah, if you just have to get closer to the microphone.
oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Do you want me to repeat my name?
No, you're good.
Okay. I just wanted to thank the council for the resolution that you passed at the last meeting about the jet noise from Teterboro Airport. I'm sorry I couldn't be here. I had a family emergency out of town, so I was away. But anyway, I want to thank you. And the only reason, besides thanking you, that I came tonight was at the end of that resolution, it says that it's going to be sent to a whole list of various people. And I just wanted to see if I could find out to whom it was sent, just because I want to follow up. So I would appreciate it if you could let me know. You could tell me, you could send me a note, whatever, but I would like to know. So that's why I'm here, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. DiTomaso. Actually, I'm going to break protocol. If you want to go speak to Kim, she knows all about who sees what as far as the other municipalities. Anybody else from the public wishing to speak?
Hi, Christina Cole, 279 Mountain Way. I just want to thank our PIO Bogosian for emailing us all these agendas, because I wouldn't have caught this if I did not read this on the agenda on my email. It's a very small request. If you can possibly think about waiving the application fee of $50 for block parties. I know it's not of a costly amount, but as the block party planner for my block for several years, it's just another cost I have to incur, trying to, delegate all the houses and let them be informed, and also use funds. Now I have to use some of those funds for the application. I don't know if you've had an influx of applications of what this fee is going to be used for. I do think that the $100 fine for residents of the block that do not pick up after their block party should be fines, but from my experience over the past couple of years, I think we've done a pretty good job of cleaning up our block. I don't know if this is an issue with other residents when they have block parties, but this is just another fee upon taxes that I do not want to come here and pay every single year, because as with fees, we know that it's going to start with $50. In a couple of years, it's going to be $100. When my kids are running block parties, it might be $200. So if you can just revisit that, I would be very appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody from the public, anybody else from the public wishing to come speak?
No, too close. Frank Wilson, 171 Montrose Ave. Started coming here tonight because on the ordinances, the alcoholic beverages for the theater district regulations. And I found out through Facebook and everything else that the place that we sold to is also now forcing the movie theater out by raising their rent to an unacceptable number. So the same folks that we all gave it to them for $1 wanted to have the Proud Boys in. They're forcing the movie theater out, and we're going to award them with an alcoholic license. I don't know where you all stand on this, if you even knew about this, but this council picked them. And so far, they've had the Proud Boys group, which everybody was in uproar on, and now they're getting rid of the movie theater. I don't know how you feel, but I think that's unacceptable. I don't know what was in the agreement. You folks do, but there's not much you probably can do about it. But I think you really need to start leaning on them and holding this over their heads that we are now going to lose the movie theater. On the second thing, I didn't know about the pot thing tonight, but the questions I have with that are the revenue part of it. I agree with the revenue, but if you're going to use it just to add more borough employees, that gives us a zero effect. That doesn't help the residents out one bit. So if your goal is to take in $100,000 and add $100,000 of employee salaries, we get nothing. So I don't know where the money's going to target. That money goes down, but if you're just going to use it to add staff, it's a zero effect. You also should consider a loitering ordinance, because I do know folks that run the pot places, and after they buy it, they hang around outside, even if it's on the other side of town. While you're doing this, get it in stone now. And the last thing is, did you do it, if it's over there, has anybody done a traffic study with that coming in plus what Amazon is in that general area? I don't know really where it's going, but did you perform a traffic study to find out what the needs are going to be? Because this is going to generate traffic. We all know that. Well, now you're going to have Amazon, and going near those corporate buildings there, is it going to be a nightmare? Is it going to be a nightmare going over 17? Don't know. But you should consider doing a traffic study at some point in the future, especially when Amazon goes full-blown, because I can tell you, coming from that world, when those things come rolling on out at one time, it's going to get busy. So that's it. So the reason why I was really here was consider this ordinance to help them out, because they don't look like they want to help us out. Proud Boys, removal of the movie theater, it's not helping the residents out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Anybody else from the public wishing to speak?
Hi, Greg Racine, 83 Sylvan Street. So I guess you're wondering why there were three children here tonight. The rest for youth. They are scouts here, both in Troop 166G and in 181. They're doing their merit badge for citizenship in the community, and part of the merit badge was to come and see a public meeting. So, right, just thank you for entertaining them.
Would they like to come up and speak or ask any questions?
Guys have any questions? No? Maybe after? Okay. Daddy has some opinions. I told him to keep quiet for now.
Not a problem. I appreciate you all coming out tonight.
Thank you, everybody.
Mr. Zora?
Good evening, everybody. Adam Zora, 94 Vreeland Avenue. Those who attended the last meeting heard me challenge the construction of the proposed $100,000 Sanzari handicap ramp that was planned to be placed on the north side of Borough Hall. You also heard the most tone-deaf defense of a non-ADA compliant project ever put forward by this borough. Forcing people excuse me, who park in the handicap space next to the Donaldson entrance to the Borough Hall to make an unsheltered 650-foot round trip through a basement entrance on the opposite side of Borough Hall every time they come here to conduct business or attend a public meeting is unconscionable. I don't know how any straight-faced person could claim Sanzari's remote ramp is the only solution to a 9-year-old problem when access to manufacturers of commercial-grade, ADA-compliant, public building-appropriate vertical wheelchair lifts, priced under $10,000, are just a click away. As I said at the last meeting, the council needs to cancel this Sanzari proposal, which is, 70-2023, and consult with industry experts and provide direct ADA-compliant access from the borough's Donaldson lot. Anything less would be a clear denial of a disabled person's basic right to safe and convenient access to a public building, and it would also be a waste of the taxpayer-funded local budgets and county grants. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zora. Anybody else from the public wishing to speak? Mr. LeBruno?
Yes, sir. David Labruno, 423 Stuyvesant Avenue. I salute you for actually presenting something to the public. I applaud that effort. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we couldn't do this in the past when we were giving away multiples of this in tax abatements for various things. If we could have explained the financial benefit of those projects, it probably would have made a lot more sense at the time. Going on to tonight's introduction of this ordinance. You know, I know when we had the alcohol ordinance and we did investigation, and of course it was presented to the public, we spent thousands of dollars getting information about lawyers and crafting a ordinance. This ordinance, I will say, is fairly minimal. And I'm doing that in comparison to the Hoboken ordinance, which has a lot more words, let's say that, and a lot more restrictions. Also sets up a cannabis board, review board, authorizes that board to make deals with the people who would come and enter the town. I don't know, maybe we could consult with a lawyer about once we establish the zoning and the permitting, how can we get a deal with them to obtain concessions for us, as they did in Hoboken, where they required the dispensary to pay the salary for one police officer a year, where they had a deed restriction with respect to consumption on premises. Nothing in this ordinance about that. Where they required a distance between facilities that would be set up. Oh, I'm sorry. No problem. Where I said they had set up distances between facilities so that we know collection together, let's say. I was also wondering where we came up with the number 2 with respect to the facilities that we're agreeing could potentially be authorized. So those are some of the questions. I applaud that we'll have more time than 2 weeks from today, that this will be approved, as had happened many times in the past, with various different things that are of relative to import to the community. So that's something good. Also note in Hoboken, as I said earlier, deed restriction, funding for a police officer, donation to Affordable Housing Trust Fund that they required, annual cannabis education awareness that they provide. None of these things are in our ordinance, nor do we authorize a cannabis board that would have the authority to negotiate those. And so hopefully these things are worked out before this occurs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. LeBruno. Anybody else wishing to speak? Seeing none, I'm going to close it to the public and now open up for any council conversation or discussion. Councilwoman?
Okay, so first of all, I just want to welcome our scouts. I have said since I've taken office that I wish more children had an opportunity to come to these meetings. I'm a bit of a government nerd myself, and I just think it's important to see how the process happens. Ms. DiTomaso, I was thrilled that we were able to get something out on that effort, and hopefully we will get some response. I assume that our public information officer gave you that information that you need. And actually, I'm curious, I should drill down and figure out where it went as well. So I'm going to definitely ask that question. Ms. Cole, fair, since you plan almost everything I've ever attended, I would imagine that planning block parties is in your purview as well. I think that my council colleagues, if you weren't here the last meeting, could probably do a better job than I can about what our concerns were with block parties. So I will leave that to them. Mr. Wilson,
I'm sorry, Councilwoman, you may ask the borough administrator if you want him to comment while you're doing this.
sure. Bob, did you want to speak about block parties again? Do you mind doing that? I would love you to do that for me, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
I know you did it last time, too.
So the reason for the policies that we started getting a growing number of requests, a growing number of repeat requests on the same block. So we just kind of wanted to formalize and, put a little governance to the issue. It does become a little bit of extra work for borough employees in terms of reviewing each application, making sure all the resources are available for that day. So we just want to really focus on, we're supportive of block parties. We're really supportive of community gatherings and getting together. Some of the requests start to become a little bit more private and personal, which is really not what we believe a block party should be. We want the community all gathering together to celebrate and mingle amongst each other, as opposed to a private family type environment that isolated community from participating. So that was really the genesis of generating that policy. And one was to promote community engagement and also to create and establish a more policy within here in the borough.
Thank you, Bob. With regards to Councilman Coakley's presentation, I know that Mr. LeBruno and Mr. Wilson spoke to it, and Councilman Coakley referenced what I'll call my field trip. I am not a cannabis consumer. I've never have been. That's not to say that I have a moral view on it. It is a legal substance. As most of you know, I'm an attorney. I look at most things through an attorney's lens, whether my family likes it or not. So when it came to this issue, there was a lot I simply did not know. Because it's not something that's never crossed my path. I haven't had to explore it. I felt very strongly that I couldn't take a view without knowing what I was voting on. So I did go to the facility in Rochelle Park and still didn't purchase anything, but certainly because that's just not my journey, but again, it's a legal substance. I was, as Councilman Coakley knows, I was pretty blown away by the amount of regulation, which is really what I was looking for, right? I wanted to know, I was blown away that you get your ID checked at the door. I was blown away that there is no product on the floor. I was blown away that you had to wait in line once you placed your order. I was blown away by the traffic. Mr. Wilson, I hear you on the traffic. I know at least at this facility, the traffic direction was pretty phenomenal, separating medicinal consumers from recreational consumers. You had to walk on a specific path within the parking lot. For someone that loves rules, it was like really my utopia with regards to rules. So I did do that because on a very practical level, there are a lot of statistics about the impact of the when cannabis was illegal, on the impact on a variety of communities. And I feel very strongly about that. I feel very strongly about job creation. And at the one facility that I went to, there were a lot of people working there. So it is another opportunity to create jobs within striking distance of our community, while keeping our community safe from any presumed stigmatized dangers that you think comes with it. So I did go to a facility to understand. The other thing I'll add, and Mr. LeBruno, I didn't know those things about Hoboken. That's very interesting. Those additional points. I'm interested to understand more about that. But I do want the community to understand that this is something that Councilman Coakley has been working on for a lot of time. Yes, leveraging our lawyers to help with the ordinance, but the research and the due diligence really sits up here in a way that predates me by leaps and bounds. So regardless of where this ends up, I do think that I get great comfort knowing that for all intents and purposes, this is a volunteer job when one of my colleagues spends a tremendous amount of time on his own to understand something that will impact us, in my mind, for the better. So Mr. Wilson and Mr. LeBruno, I take your points. I think they're interesting points for sure. I think that my comfort level was exponentially enhanced by Councilman Coakley's willingness to, as you said, Mr. LeBruno, present on this and take questions. So that's all I'll say on that. With regards to the theater district, it's a complicated thing, Mr. Wilson. I think a lot has gone on over in that little courtyard. that I'm still grappling with myself. Again, I go back to, as a lawyer, the fact that it's a privately owned business now. However it got there, that's how we are. That's where it is now. I don't always agree with the decisions privately owned businesses make, but certainly that's where we are now. And I think you said yourself, Mr. Wilson, like, what can we do? And I think that we, meaning those of us up here, and that's where I still have a big question mark. I also obviously wasn't involved in all of the various negotiations, agreements, and great amount of work that went to getting the current owner of that space the space that they now have. And finally, Mr. Zurer, I hear what you're saying, and I am quite adept in the ADA. It's a big part of the actual work I do is dealing with the Americans with Disabilities Act, specifically with regards to employees. Where I take issue is with the implication that somehow our community, our governing body, our borough employees would make efforts to do things that are simply not compliant. And part of this exercise for me in becoming a councilwoman is understanding the various processes that have happened. I've spent hours meeting with borough employees and our lawyers to try to understand how things are done. And I would be really surprised if we're pushing forward a project that is simply not compliant on borough property. I would love to understand how you get there. But I then just go back to what our council president said at our last meeting, which is any effort to enhance accessibility to a borough property for our uniquely abled individuals is something that I'm going to support. I have been here myself when individuals with various disabilities have been unable to access the property. So I stand on that where I stood before, but I just find it sort of shocking, the implication that everyone involved would somehow do something not compliant.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Council President.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Ms. Tomaso, again, I'd like to thank you for once again being here. I was very happy to stand and support that resolution. I just want to once again thank you for all the hard work you have done in order to bring this to light to us so that we can stand and support and try to make something happen to benefit all the residents of Rutherford. So thank you very much for your time and your hard work, and it was a pleasure for me to support that resolution. Ms. Cole, thank you for voicing your opinions on fees. I think our borough administrator has clarified a lot of that, why and the need for the fees. So I'm going to leave that at that. Mr. Wilson, you brought up a part about giving back to the community for the cannabis sales and the fees and whatnot, and I too believe that portions, if not all, portions of this should be supported and appropriated into the giving back, whether it be fields or other services that at the end of the day does benefit the residents, and I do support that. And I know my council colleague, Mr. Coakley, has also alluded during his presentation that the good things that can happen for a community. And I know all his hard work and his great intentions here, he's not going to let something like that pass by. I know he's already on that, trying to get things done like that. So thank you for bringing that to our attention as well. Appreciate it. My council colleague, Mr. Coakley, thank you so much for that great presentation. I do appreciate the transparency. I appreciate all the long, hard hours you have put into this and the many hours that you spent with me explaining what exactly you were looking to do, and not only that, but educating me about this retail establishment and the benefits, financial benefits that this could have on the borough as far as an asset, an impact, a positive impact on the community. So I want to thank you for bringing this to my attention and helping and allowing me to put my input and bring new ideas to the table as well. And you were so welcoming with that. I certainly appreciate that. That's all I got. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Susan, Councilwoman?
Hi, thank you. I just want to say to Mr. Racine and the Scouts, I want to echo what my colleague, Councilwoman Delray Cohn said. Thank you for being here. You know, as a fanatic sports fan and a fanatic politics fan, it always strikes me how much, like, what deeper the knowledge is in American citizens about sports. Like, we know so much about sports trivia, we follow sports so closely, but we don't know much about local government, state government, or national government. So it's really wonderful that you're here. I think if kids could take an interest at a younger age in civics, that we'd have a healthier democracy, and that's really important right now. So it's absolutely incredible that you're here. Thank you. I also want to say to Ms. Cole, thank you for your comments. I think you made a great point. I think that could be prohibitive for some people in town, and I am going to, as a second on recreation, I'm going to hold the ordinance tonight, and we will look at it again. So thank you.
Councilman Coakley.
Thank you, sir. So I'm just going to go kind of in linear order here. Ms. DiTomaso, thank you for your diligence in staying on top of this. It will be a benefit to our community as a whole. It's so rare that people bring a complaint with solutions, and you have every step of the way. Thank you again. Ms. Cole, as someone who knows that we throw a block party pretty much the same weekend as your block every year, we too, cost is always getting people to contribute. It is a big deal. We thought this was a fair rate to kind of curb what we saw as a increase in the requests. There was a couple of outlandish ones where people wanted to close a thoroughfare every weekend during the summer because their kids can play in the street safely, right? So one of those little bits and pieces that goes into the decision making. Mr. Wilson, excellent points as always. Thank you very much. Just as a couple of points of clarification, at no point in my presentation did I say we'd hire new employees. When I referred to the fire department, it was basically to take care of the guys and women that are currently employed, to bring them up. There's a larger discussion for the fire department budget to bring our uniform allowance in line with other municipalities nearby. But the intent here with this is to be able to supplement what we currently do. Costs go up, right? And where are we going to find more money other than the tax base, right? And that's what we want to avoid with an effort like this. The loitering ordinance, excellent point. I believe we have a loitering ordinance on the books, but I'll double check. If not, if anything, I will get it to amend to include, no consumption on premises, post-purchase, things like that. So thank you for that. The traffic study, I feel like that's a little bit cart ahead of the horse, in that we don't have any viable entity right now looking at a piece of real estate. We'd want them to kind of contribute to that traffic study and show where they are opening up, how it would affect the flow. If it's anything like Sonic was when 17 opened, if you remember that was a brutal traffic congestion thing. I remember that being a problem for months, right? So I don't think it's going to be on par with Sonic, considering the state in time or place in time we are executing this effort. But thank you again, excellent points. And just to your point about Amazon, I'm not sure if you were aware, but they have actually halved their total possession of that warehouse. In their downsizing that happened over the last 2 years, they are not going to be taking over the entirety of that entity that was built. So again, to your point, traffic study would be great, but it has been cut in half in terms of its total occupancy. Mr. Racine, who has left the building, thank you as always. Mimi, my neighbor, nice to see you. Welcome, awesome job. Always appreciate Mr. Racine getting the kids involved in what we do here. Mr. LeBruno, as we discussed on the basketball court on Sunday, thank you for the attention. I do want to say, I will be honest, we did not look at Hoboken because we were strictly looking at municipalities with a comparable residency, right? So Rochelle Park, ironically enough, is a third of what Rutherford is, and they're collecting probably the highest municipal tax rate in the state. So excellent points, all very good positions, like I said up there. We are adapting and learning, right? We've done our due diligence, but little things like that. I did not look at Hoboken for just the case that it is a city, in my opinion, as opposed to like a municipality. And they will have to operate under a much different set of regulations in terms of proximity, square footage, things like that. I'm shocked that they can open one with the 600-foot radius thing and all of the daycare centers and schools and things they have in town and 1 square mile. I'm surprised that one will be able to open there. But all excellent, excellent. Is it? Okay, yeah. Yes, yes, exactly. There's a rule for that. But I would love to see their cannabis map. But excellent. I appreciate you bringing up some really excellent points. We will look into that. That is all. Thank you, Mayor. Just real quick, I want to, again, thank Bo Ferraro, our legal attorney, who held my hand through this entire process, listened to all of my concerns, Councilman Guzman's concerns, the rest of my colleagues. He put in a lot of hours for this effort as well, and I believe we are putting forth something that will benefit this community for decades to come. Thank you, Bo.
Thank you, Councilman. I would just like to thank Councilman Coakley, Councilman Del Rey Cohn, Councilman Guzman, Councilman Quattrone. Everyone's done their due, and as well as Council President McGowan and Councilwoman Begg Roberson. Everyone's done their due diligence with this, and you've done your homework. You've asked the council to do their homework. And the way you're presenting this gives the community a lot of time to digest and ask the questions. I really appreciate when that's presented in that particular format. So I just want to thank you for that, Councilman. Ms. DiTomaso, as I've told you, total support of yours. Our public information officer has done a lot of work based on what you've brought to us and dealing with the Teterboro Airport abatement committee, or TANC, I'm sorry. So we will continue. The noise is a problem. Believe me, my house is directly in the flight path, so you have our support. Mr. LeBruno, you brought up some great questions, and we do have a lot of time now. We have ample time to let the public weigh in on this and address questions and concerns. Not just yours, but more that will come up. So thank you for that. Mr. Racine, I expect that you'll all stay around so we can take some pictures after we finish up. All right, thank you very much. Ms. Cole, I believe the councilwoman will be asking to pull this for further review. So it'll give us ample time to talk about it. I will stand with Councilwoman Del Rey Cohn when it comes to your comments, Mr. Zura. And Mr. Wilson, we will continue to bring more information forward, as Councilman Coakley has just stated. So thank you for that. Other than that, I'm going to now bring it to Council President, Acting Council President.
Thank you very much, Mayor. All right. Moving on. First up, I'd like to ask Council to approve regular meeting minutes of February 13th, 2023. Councilwoman Begg Roberson and Quattrone were absent. Motion.
Second.
Okay. Any comment? Councilman Coakley?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Del Rey Cohn?
Yes.
Councilwoman Quattrone?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Next up, I'd like to ask Council to authorize change of meeting time on March 13th, 2023 to 5:30 p.m. Closed session for elected officials training. Motion.
Second.
Any comment? Councilman Coakley?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Del Rey Cohn?
Yes.
Councilwoman Quattrone?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Next, I'd like to move resolution number 82, rescinding resolution number 72-2023, adopted on February 13th, 2023. Motion.
Second.
Second.
Any comment? Councilman Coakley?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Del Rey Cohn?
Yes.
Councilwoman Quattrone?
Yes.
Thank you. Next up, I'd like to move resolution number 78, award of Bergen County Co-op contract for Tamblin Field handicapped accessible bathroom fixtures. Motion.
Second.
Comment? Councilman Coakley?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Del Rey-Cohen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Quattrone?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Moving on to consent agendas items. All items authorized to be consent by the council will be enacted by one motion. These items are routine in nature. Motion.
Second.
Comment? Councilman Coakley?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Del Rey-Cohen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Quattrone?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Moving on to committee assignments. I will fill in for Councilwoman McGowan. First up on our agenda, she has resolution number 80, canceling outstanding checks. Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments by the council? Seeing none, may I have a roll call?
Councilman Coakley?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Del Rey-Cohen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Quattrone?
Yes.
Moving on to my committee assignments. I'd like to ask council to authorize the use of terminal leave for Lieutenant Julie Ziegler with retirement effective February 1st, 2024. Motion.
Motion by Councilman Guzman, or Council President, either way. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Quattrone. Any questions or comments by the council? Councilman.
I'd just like to thank Lieutenant Ziegler for her time, her services to the police force, and certainly to the borough of Rutherford. There's been a lot of great tasks that she's accomplished here while being here for quite a few years, and I just want to wish her a very happy retirement and best of all.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions or comments? But I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir. Yes, I just want to congratulate Lieutenant Ziegler and let her know that it was such a privilege to be part of her swearing in during her promotion as the first female lieutenant in the history of the Rutherford Police Department, if I am not mistaken. So congratulations, Lieutenant Ziegler, and best of luck in your next chapter.
All right, I apologize. We need a second for this.
Second.
Second by Councilman Del Rey-Cohen. I apologize. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Thank you. I apologize again.
Councilman Coakley?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Del Rey-Cohen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Quattrone?
Yes.
Mayor, that's all I have for now.
Thank you. We're going to move on. Public Works. Councilwoman Del Rey-Cohen.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to introduce resolution number 76, which is endorsing the mayor's wellness campaign. We were asked to bring this back by the Green Team, and I'm excited to do so. As residents probably know, the Mayor's Wellness Campaign is just an effort to enhance the wellness of our community through a variety of physical, mental, and socio-emotional programming. So I'm excited to introduce this resolution for another go. So motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Del Rey-Cohen. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Guzman. Any questions or comments by the council? Seeing none, I'm going to stop looking at Greg because he's Green Team. We have a roll call.
Councilman Coakley?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilman Del Rey-Cohen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Quattrone?
Yes.
Thank you. Fire, Councilman Coakley.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, if I
I'm
can
sorry,
just...
I apologize.
That's
You're right.
okay.
You're right.
I'm sorry, Matt. Just with regards to my liaison assignments, I just wanted to commend the Green Team and specifically Julia Siegel. We recently submitted our Sustainable New Jersey application. For residents who don't know what that is, it is an extremely extensive application requiring a ton of information that makes the borough eligible for grants and other benefits related to sustainability. I just want to note that Julia's effort was, in particular, tremendous. I also want to thank our borough employees, including DPW, our borough administrator, and a variety of others who were the resources for a lot of the information that the Green Team required. I'm also happy to report that your level of in your application process is geared by a point system. My understanding is that last year we accrued enough points for a bronze level, and this year we've accrued enough points for silver. So hopefully that will provide us with more enhanced accessibility to grant programs. Also, with regard to the Green Team, we are still looking for anyone who wishes to contribute to the bike rodeo in the way of funds. We do have some collaborations working with our police department. Thank you to Chief Russo and his team with helping to get children bike helmets, but we do need some other resources available to us to pay the vendor that would assist us in teaching children how to ride bikes and how to do so safely in our town. Finally, I just want to acknowledge on behalf of the Rutherford Civil Rights Commission that we are just finishing out Black History Month. I just want to encourage our community. I have a number of resources that I can certainly share with anyone who's interested, and perhaps I'll include them in my newsletter blurb for their newsletter this week. But it is wonderful that we have Black History Month, but I do think that in some ways it is frustrating that we don't encourage ourselves to learn about Black history throughout the year. So there are a variety of resources that the Rutherford Civil Rights Commission has compiled that I'm happy to share with any residents who wish to educate themselves a little more. Also, this will just be my plug that it is never a bad thing to make purchases from a Black-owned business or to support artists who are people of color. So I just thought I needed to earmark the finality of Black History Month and encourage us to look at it beyond just the month of February. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Coker.
Thank you, sir. I would like to move forth resolution number 79, authorizing the refurbishment of 3 department fire engines. Change order number 5. Make a motion.
Motion by Councilman Coakley. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Quattrone. Any questions or comments by the council? Seeing none, may I have a roll call?
Councilman Coakley?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Deborah Cone?
Yes.
Councilwoman Quattrone?
Yes.
Thank you all. For the Shade Tree Commission, we'd like to make a motion to authorize the change of date for the Arbor Day Festival to April 22nd, 2023, with a rain date of 4/23/23. Motion.
Motion by Councilman Coakley. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Guzman. Any questions or comments by the council? Seeing none, may I have a roll call?
Councilman Coakley?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Deborah Cone?
Yes.
Councilwoman Quattrone?
Yes.
Thank you all. Also, with regard to the Arbor Day, I move resolution number 75, amending or establishing the booth fees for the event in 2023. Motion.
Motion by Councilman Coakley. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Delray Cone. Missy?
Councilman Coakley?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Deborah Cone?
Yes.
Councilwoman Quattrone?
Yes.
Thank you. And just in closing, this isn't really any of my liaison assignments, but there is this wonderful fundraising effort going around the social media channels right now for the high school. One of the local students has proposed the idea, because the cafeteria is so full, that we invest in some picnic tables so that as the weather turns nicer, the kids who bring lunches, my son is a freshman now, we pack his lunch a couple days a week to save a couple of bucks, have a place to go and sit outside in the sunshine. So if you're interested, there is a flyer going around. Gina Smith is spearheading it along with the student in question. I'm not going to say her name out loud, just you can see it on the flyer. There is a link available on the flyer you can find on Facebook or similar where you can donate. But I think it's a wonderful idea, especially as the weather starts to turn and we come out of this winter weather, to give the kids a great place to just see and sit outside and get some vitamin D. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Quattrone.
Under my assignments, I have nothing today.
Thank you. Again, Councilwoman Quattrone.
Under Councilwoman Beg Roberson's assignments, there is nothing tonight.
Thank you. I actually have nothing to report tonight. So we'll open it up again for hearing of citizens for agenda items only. Anyone wishing to speak? Seeing none, I'm going to close it to the public and open it up to the council. Seeing none. I'm going to move on to ordinances. Ordinances on first read. Police. That's you, Ray. Is this being ironical? That was my fault. You didn't get the proper agenda.
Thank you very much, now that I have the ordinance in front of me.
That's my fault. I apologize again.
First up, I have ordinance to amend Chapter 126. Missy, can you please read the ordinance by title only?
In order to amend and revise Chapter 126, Vehicles and Traffic of the Borough Code of the Borough of Rutherford.
Thank you. Motion?
Motion by Councilman Guzman. May I have a
Motion to move the ordinance be passed on first reading and advertised in according to law.
motion by Councilman Guzman. May I have a second?
Second.
Yes.
Council comment? Councilman Coakley?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilman Delray Cone?
Yes.
Councilwoman Quattrone?
Yes.
All right, thank you. I am bringing forth the ordinance to amend our current cannabis ordinance to include Class and 5 and 6 licenses as defined in my presentation earlier this evening. Missy, can you read the ordinance by title only, please?
In order to amend and revise Chapter 19A, Cannabis of the Borough Code of the Borough of Rutherford.
Thank you, Missy. Make a motion to move that the ordinance be passed on first read and advertised according to law.
Motion by Councilman Coakley. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Delray Cone. Any questions or comments by the council?
Just briefly, sir, I am open to discussion on this, which is why we've pushed back the second read for 30 days. Please feel free to reach out to me directly. Happy to have a cup of coffee and work through any concerns or concerns you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Anybody else? Seeing none, may I have a roll call?
Councilman Coakley?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Delray Cone?
Yes.
Councilwoman Quattrone?
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. I would make one recommendation on this. I don't want you to be inundated. I don't feel that you need to be inundated. Should we need to have an open session or a public meeting, we can schedule that through our public information officer, and we could set something up where you can set up a night and have people come in prior to a meeting. Thank you. Councilwoman Quattrone, Buildings and Grounds.
Hi, I have an ordinance to amend Chapter 126-9.5. Missy, can you read the title? Can you read the ordinance by title only?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 126-9.5, Public Parking Spaces for Charging Electric Vehicles of the Borough Code of the Borough of Rutherford.
Motion.
Motion to move that the ordinance be passed on first reading and advertised according to law.
May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Guzman. Any questions or comments by the council? Seeing none, may I have a roll call?
Councilman Coakley?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Del Rey Cohen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Quattrone?
Yes.
Thank you. The established fees for block parties. My understanding is that you'd like this to be held up. I would ask you to make
Yes.
a motion.
Motion?
Motion by Councilwoman Quattrone. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Guzman. Any questions or comments by the council?
We're just voting whether to table it for further.
Missy, may I have a roll call?
Councilman Coakley?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Del Rey Cohen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Quattrone?
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinances on second read. Council President, Acting Guy.
Thank you, Mayor. First up, we have an ordinance to amend and revise Chapter 7. Missy, can you please read the ordinance by title only? Okay, motion to table this ordinance.
Motion to table the ordinance as well. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Coakley. Any questions or comments by the council? Seeing none, may I have a roll call?
Councilman Coakley?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Del Rey Cohen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Quattrone?
Yes.
Councilman Del Rey Cohen?
Thank you, Mayor. The first ordinance for second read is an ordinance regarding the renewal of the military banner program. As residents probably know, we hang banners around town to celebrate our veterans and those that served in our military. Motion. Oh, nope. I'm going to get it eventually. Don't worry. Missy, would you mind reading the ordinance by title only?
An ordinance to amend and revise Chapter 61-6.2 Municipal Military Banner Program of the Borough Code of the Borough of Rutherford.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to move that the ordinance be passed on second reading and advertised according to law.
Motion by Councilwoman Del Rey Cohen. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Quattrone. Any questions or comments by the council? Seeing none, I'm sorry, I'll do it backwards. I'll now open it up to the public for any comment on this subject matter and this subject matter only. Anybody wishing to speak, please come forward. Seeing none, I'm going to close it to the public and now open up for any council consent, any council questions. Seeing none, Missy?
Councilman Coakley?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Del Rey Cohen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Quattrone?
Yes.
The second ordinance up for second reading is an ordinance regarding to amend the fees for additional trash containers. Missy, would you please read the ordinance by title only?
An ordinance to amend and revise Chapter 40 Garbage, Rubbish, and Refuse of the Borough Code of the Borough of Rutherford.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to move that the ordinance be passed on second reading and advertised according to law.
Motion by Councilwoman Del Rey Cohen. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Guzman. I'll now open it up to the public for any questions or comments on this subject and this subject matter only. Anyone from the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, I'm going to close it to the public and now open it up for the council. Seeing none, Missy?
First. My bad. Councilman Coakley?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilman Del Rey Cohen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Quattrone?
Yes.
Missy spends so much time covering for me, she can't even do her. Thank you. Councilman Guzman?
Thank you, Mayor. I have ordinance on second read. This ordinance is basically to revise the fees for the garbage cans. Missy, can you please read the ordinance by title only?
That's not your fault.
Thank you, Missy. I have ordinance on second read to amend revised Chapter 126. Missy, can you please read the ordinance by title only?
In order to amend and revise Chapter 126 Vehicles and Traffic of the Borough Code of the Borough of Rutherford.
I'd like to motion to move the ordinance be passed on second reading and advertised according to law.
I have a motion by Councilman Guzman. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Quattrone. I'll now open this subject to the public. Anyone wishing to speak on this subject matter and this subject matter only, please step to the microphone and keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Seeing none, I'll close it to the public and now open it up for any council comments. Seeing none, Missy, may I have a roll call?
Councilman Coakley?
Yes.
Councilman Guzman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Delroy Cohen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Quattrone?
Yes.
All right, so I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. But before I do that, I would like to say that I was the one that got back late today and kind of moved some stuff around. I apologize to the council for you not getting your, and Missy not getting the way I wanted things structured. I apologize to everybody. Now, motion to adjourn.
Motion?
Motion by Councilman Guzman. May I have a second? Or, I'm sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. I would ask the council to stay. Kim, could you get some pictures with the scouts and us up front?